Welcome everyone to Breaking Big Blue. I'm your host Jordan Ron on ESPN, ESPN.com Giants reporter here with the spring wrap. So I'm taping this on Wednesday night. The Giants are officially done with their off-season program. OTAs, minicamp, finito, as Pat Shurmur would say, in the rearview mirror. Next up, training camp. July 22nd, report date, July 23rd. Is going to be the Giants' first practice. Now, rookies are going to show up a week before, but they're just going to be sort of getting acclimated. So training camp officially begins the 23rd, so it's about 17 days before the start of their first preseason game. So end of July, that's when the summer ends. It's a little shorter than usual. 34 days between the end of minicamp, mandatory minicamp, which ended today, and the start of training camp. Giants, I guess, started a week later with their off-season program, the OTAs at least. So then that seems to be the difference. Usually there's like a good 6 weeks, and you're looking at it from our perspective, or from my perspective. This is your summer break. You want to maximize that. You want as many days as possible. You don't want your summer to end early. You want the football to start as late as possible. Preferably in August, if you ask me. But now you got less than 5 weeks this year, like a little bit less than 5 weeks, rather than some years. Most years you have around 6. Some years you have even more. Maybe if you have the Hall of Fame game, you start a week earlier, so you're probably around 5. But this is, as far as I can remember, perhaps the shortest break that the Giants have had, except for that year where they played in the Hall of Fame. Remember, they played the Bills. That was when Michael Strahan was going into the Hall of Fame. So here's what I'm going to do real quick. I'm going to give you the biggest spring takeaways that I have. Then I'm going to get into the spring standouts, okay? So we're going to do a quick 5-spot of spring takeaways. Number 1, Russell Wilson is QB1 for the New York Giants, right? Something crazy, something outlandish is going to have to happen for Russell Wilson not to be the Giants starter week 1 of the regular season. When Russell Wilson was on the field this spring, Russell Wilson was taking first-team reps exclusively. The players, the offense, they view him as the leader already, right? He's been here how many months? What is it? It's June. He signed in March. So 3 months. He's the clear-cut leader. The quarterback, the voice, the guy that gets everybody settled. So something would have to happen. Something, unpredictable. Whether it be injury, Jackson Dart plays, spectacular. Russ is spectacularly bad. Something unplanned will have to happen in order for Russell Wilson not to be the starting quarterback week 1 when the Giants take the field. As for Jackson Dart, this is, observation number 2 here. A little bit of an up and down spring. We ended today through a pair of interceptions on 6 passes. But you saw also the flashes of good. Right? You see some throws, you're like, wow, that's a pretty special throw. There was one the other day, the day before. He ended practice with a great dart pun. There's a pun, a Jackson Dart pun. I'm sure we're going to hear a million of them over the years. Threw a dart down the right sideline for a touchdown. Dalen Cambry, right? Working with the second team. Irrelevant to this point. But just a great throw, ends practice. It would have been great if that was the end of his spring, to be honest. Like the Giants held a pretty light practice on today, which is Wednesday, to end their offseason program. If that was the last throw at Jackson Dart made, the last throw he made at practice on Tuesday, you could see him strutting near the sideline as he was going to the sideline, chest out. You could tell when someone's confident, right? And you could tell when their body language isn't confident. Like, he was strutting. He had that walk, that swag that Tommy DeVito talked about when he talked about Jackson Dart today. Like, you saw that after that throw. It was a great throw deep down the sideline. Like, he maneuvered in the pocket a little bit and then just, set through just a strike for a deep touchdown. The Giants they didn't hit a lot of deep touchdowns, in minicamp. That was maybe the only one off the top of my head, deep downfield. So if he could have ended on that, that would have just created good vibes. Give me like a Eli rookie year, final game of the regular season against the Cowboys. To take that feeling into the summer break and into training camp probably would have been nice. Now he goes in, off a day where he struggled a little bit. And he admitted, and this is part of the quarterback learning process, the learning curve of the NFL. Jackson Dart admitted when he spoke to the media on Wednesday that that's the biggest difference between pros and college. Is these guys are bigger, faster, the defenders are better, that you can't make certain throws that you can make in college. And when he has made mistakes, that seems to be how it's been. Try to make plays on the move, fit it into tight windows, throw interceptions, make mistakes, make bad throws. That's something he's going to have to get used to. There's actually a famous Peyton Manning story where Peyton Manning, talks about going back to the sideline. He threw an interception, and he was telling his coach, he saw this and this, and, that's a throw he could make. And he made the same mistake again, and he came back, I think it was the second or third time. I may be, embellishing, botching the story a little bit, but the point is the same. And by like the third time when he threw the interception, remember Peyton Manning threw a ton of interceptions his rookie year. By the time the third time came, he came back to the sideline, and instead of saying, I can make that throw, I have to do this, this, and this, he said, I realize you can't make that throw in the NFL. These guys are too good. That's a throw you can't make in the NFL. That's where Jackson Dart is right now. He's learning that. So there's enough good to make you feel solid about him. He did some good things. The day before, he was really good. Brian Daboll said he's been excellent this offseason, especially at retaining and processing information. That's a huge part of playing quarterback. So, it was an up and down spring for him. Malik Neighbors, his spring, inactive. Didn't see him. Didn't practice at all. But the good news is, Brian Daboll said there's no concern that he's going to be ready for training camp. Okay? With this toe problem he's been dealing with, they said he had dealt with it at the end of last year, something he's dealt with dating back to LSU in college. Now, that made you concerned a little bit. You say, hey, you should be, this is 6 months later. You should be, 5 months later, you should be back on the field, right? You played in the Pro Bowl with it. How are you not playing now? It makes you a little scratch your head, what the heck is going on here? My feeling and my take on it after listening to people is that they were just played it super cautious with Malik Neighbors. That's what the Giants did here. They just played it super cautious. They decided, you know what? Let's just not risk anything with Malik Neighbors. We know how good Malik Neighbors is 100 plus catches, 1,400 yards as a rookie. Or 1,200 yards, sorry. Huge rookie year. Was excellent. 7 touchdowns. And then if you think about it in a big picture, the Giants were cautious with a lot of their big players. Dexter Lawrence, you didn't see him out there in any team drills. Did some individual drills, but you didn't see Dexter Lawrence in any team drills. Andrew Thomas didn't see him out there practicing at all. Bobby Okereke at the end of the summer, you saw him out. The 2 guards, the veteran guards, John Runyon Jr. off surgery, and then Greg Van Roten. You didn't see them very much, right? So just a very cautious approach. That's the Brian Daboll, Joe Schoen program. We've seen it now for several years. Number 4 on the observations, Abdul Carter. Beast. That's the word that Kayvon Thibodeau used. Impressed with his speed, his explosiveness, and his smarts. And here's the thing that you notice about Abdul Carter. I mean, first of all, let's start. It's the physical part of it. That's it. All these guys, I said this last time, all these guys are super high-end athletes. They made the NFL, okay? But then even in the when you classify them in the NFL, certain guys stand out. Abdul Carter's that dude, okay? He stands out in that regard. And what I seem to like about him, obviously first impression, jury's still out, but he seems to be all business. He's not out there messing around all the time, joking, laughing. That's just not his personality. He's a serious dude. He's out there to get stuff done, right? And some of the guys in his room have said, we're trying to get him to talk more. Isn't a guy who's super talkative, has talked a lot. But I'll tell you what, there's no doubt in my mind. And the first day of minicamp, Tuesday, Abdul Carter was in the backfield consistently. The dude is going to make an impact immediately. And it's contingent on Shane Bowen. It's on Shane Bowen, the defensive coordinator, to find a way to utilize him. And I think they're going to utilize him. Edge, defensive tackle type role on passing downs, inside linebacker, blitzing, coming from different spots. Like, that's where you're going to see him. And there's going to be a rotation there. And perhaps it'll help Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau as well, because it'll keep him fresher, maybe healthier. Right? Both of them dealt with injuries at times last year. Brian Burns played through it. Kayvon Thibodeau missed some time. So maybe more of a rotation can help everyone, the same as they're looking for from the interior of the defensive line. But Abdul Carter, he's a player. And then that takes us to observation number 5. 5 top observations we had from the spring is that the New York Giants defense has a chance to be good. The offense still remains a little problematic. You wonder, they were bad last year, 31st in the league. Is Russell Wilson really the solution there? He looked pretty good this spring, but is that enough to take that unit and take it from a bad unit? Now they're hoping their offensive line is better. Andrew Thomas stays healthy, but now 2 years in a row, Andrew Thomas has been injured, coming off a Liz Frank injury. It's hard to just say, Andrew Thomas is going to be back. He's going to be fine. There's nothing to worry about there. That's a serious injury. Big guys with foot injuries is something you have to be a little concerned about. So just to assume that he's back, I know they signed James Hudson. How good is James Hudson? Stone Forsythe. How good is Stone Forsythe? How good is Marcus Bowe as a rookie if he has to get thrown into action? I don't think that's what the Giants want. So there are still concerns with this offense for me. But the defense, that's the area you look at and you say, this team can be good. 2 really good safeties on the back, and we'll get to Javon Holland in a little bit. And Tyler Nubin in year 2. Definitely flashed in year 1, like what you saw. Andrew Phillips in the slot, solid rookie year. Right? It looks like he's going to be a solid player. Paulson Adebo gives them a veteran presence at cornerback. Perhaps that'll help Deonte Banks, not only on the field, where Banks is trying to bounce back and he really has to play much better, but also seeing a veteran there. How do you work? How are you supposed to handle yourself? How are you supposed to watch film? To have that guy next to him, perhaps that helps him a little bit. Now, it's not to say you don't just throw Paulson Adebo. We can't just say, Giants have their number 1 cornerback. He's never really played as a number 1 cornerback. He's coming off a broken leg. He's never covered these number 1 cornerbacks. Number 1 receivers. Number 1 receivers don't really stop him anyway. These guys are so good. Very few guys can shut them down. Paulson Adebo's not going to be that guy. But he gives them something there. There's a baseline here. Quality, solid NFL cornerback. They didn't even have that last year. Good, solid interior inside linebackers. Bobby Okereke, I think he's a good player. Micah McFadden. The edge rushers, the 3-headed monster with Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter. Strength of the team right there. Dexter Lawrence in the interior. A little more depth on the defensive line. Their defense looks like it has a chance to be good. Sure, some things need to pan out, but they look like they have a chance to be good this year. It's the offense that still has you concerned after the spring. All right, let's wrap up this part of the podcast, this segment, with the spring standouts. Okay, I got, 2, 4, 6, 8 guys right here. Gonna start, let's start on the offense. You know what? I'm gonna start on the defensive side. Because the player that I thought stood out the most this spring was Dane Belton. I think when we were there, and we were only there for 5 practices, Dane Belton had 3 interceptions in those days. Was all over the field. Looked really good. Now, we saw him as sort of playing in that third safety role at times there also, and also stepping in as one of the 2 safeties. But we've seen it in the past from Dane Belton. When he's on the field, he makes big plays, game-changing plays. Giants turnovers has been a problem. That's one thing that Dane Belton has brought throughout his career. He's proven that he could play in this league and that he could do some things. His play time has been inconsistent the last couple of years, but it looks like Shane Bowen's going to find a way to try to get him on the field. And based off the way he played this spring, I think he had the best spring of any Giant. That's how good Dane Belton was the days that we were there. Making plays all over the field, always seemed to be around the ball. Now, mind you, this list I have right here, it's going to be heavy on defensive backs and receivers. Because, as Brian Daboll said earlier in the spring, it's basically a passing camp. Right? That's what OTAs and minicamp is. It's basically a passing camp. They're not in full pads. There's not contact up front. There's a lot of 7-on-7. So it's essentially a glorified passing camp. But in that glorified passing camp, Dane Belton stood out. Art Green, another defensive back, cornerback, really looked good. Made plays, got his hands on a ball, intercepted a pass at minicamp. I thought Art Green stood out to me. Like, we know the Giants have a Debo and Banks, and then Cordell Flott's kind of next in line. The group after that, I'm talking about outside cornerbacks. I'm not counting Drew Phillips or anyone who kind of plays in the slot. The group after that, heading into the summer, begins with Art Green, who the Giants picked up last year, has good size, seems to move pretty well. I was impressed with the way Art Green played. Now, mind you, this is the spring. You shouldn't be going and buying, saying, guy's going to have a breakout season. He's going to blow up based off the spring. All it does is put them in good position for the summer when you start seeing real football. It's a start. It's like stacking. It's the foundation for the year. But you don't go crazy off one block at the bottom, right? There's 5 more blocks that still need to be put on top. You still need to keep building. So, yes, these guys took a good first step, the guys that I'm naming here. But it doesn't mean they're going to be stars. They're going to be all impact players this year. I wouldn't go that far. There's a long way to go. Training camp is long. It wears guys down. Let's see what happens when you get punched in the mouth. Let's see what happens when you get kicked in the teeth. Right? And same with Abdul Carter. Yeah, he looks great. He's a physical specimen running around the way he moves. Charlie Bullen, the outside linebacker coach, is really impressed with the way he finishes as well. But does that change? Do you slow down a little bit when you get popped in the mouth by an NFL offensive lineman? Were you going against a really good left tackle in Andrew Thomas? So that's a test for Abdul Carter. Same with every other guy here. There's a long way to go. Now, also in the defensive backfield, we'll finish up here. Javon Holland. I just like the way he moves. I could see, with this guy, I could see why he was a good player in the NFL. Had a down year last year. From everyone I talked to, it wasn't his best year. But Javon Holland, you could tell by the way he moves, he looks like he should be a really good player. I don't know what went wrong last year for him in Miami. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit later. But he looks like, with the way he moves and the size he has, that he should be a really good player in the NFL. Now you're pairing him with Tyler Nubin. That's a really good safety duo. I really think that's a solid, quality safety duo. It could be a great improvement upon last year. I think Javon Holland's significantly better than Jason Pinnock. And Tyler Nubin in his second season should be better than Tyler Nubin as a rookie, who at times, by the way, made rookie mistakes. Made some plays, but also made rookie mistakes. Took some angles on tackles. You're like, that was a little scary. But in year 2, you should clean some of those things up. That's a good safety duo. The wide receivers, right? We've got Darius Slayton. I thought was really solid this spring. He looked to have a really quality connection with Russell Wilson. Now, there's a caveat to Darius Slayton in a second. Also, Jalen Hyatt, who I'm putting on this list, who was really solid. Jalen Hyatt making plays downfield early in camp. Now, the one thing about Jalen Hyatt, I have to say, is, they said he gained 15 to 20 pounds. Slayton said, not sure it's quite that much, but who knows? It looks like he did put on weight. He looked like a better player, looked like a much more confident player this spring than he was last season, when he, by the way, had 62 yards. Can't happen. Need him to contribute. Now, the one concern with Jalen Hyatt, though, he is a smaller receiver, not the most physical, and at the end of minicamp, so actually Tuesday at minicamp, he had some minor injury, then didn't practice Wednesday. So that does put a little bit of a damper on the Jalen Hyatt spring, which I still put him on this list because I thought he performed when he was on the field, but does put a little damper that he ended it banged up and injured and on the sideline. And now with him and Slayton, here's the caveat to it. As I mentioned earlier, Malik Neighbors didn't practice at all. What happens when Neighbors comes back? Does all the attention go to Neighbors and those guys become afterthoughts? The Giants have to find a way to keep them involved and get production out of Slayton and Hyatt as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops in the summer in the regular season. Amir Smith-Marset, too, working with the second team. We know what he could do as a returner. I thought he really contributed as a receiver with the second team this spring, making plays all over the place. Really a trusted target for Jameis Winston and Jackson Dart. I like what I saw from Amir Smith-Marset. Makes you think, hey, you know what? You're going to use him with a roster spot. Perhaps you could get something out of him as a receiver too, especially if you have an injury. Right? You want these guys to have multi-purpose. You don't want it's preferable that he could do more than just return. So that's promising to see from Amir Smith-Marset if he can show that he's a receiver that they can use and get something out of. Dante Miller, second-year running back. We saw him a little bit last summer, preseason flash. I thought he carried that over to the spring. He really caught the ball well out of the backfield, was a real threat as a receiver out of the backfield. It just looks quick, fast, shifty. Like, I don't know, something about that dude. You're like, that guy can play in the NFL. Like that guy can give you something. He could be that change of pace type guy out of the backfield to give you something, whether it be as a receiver, runner. Maybe he could contribute as a returner too if need be. I know he's been back there when they go do punt returns. Dante Miller's back there as well, maybe as a kick returner. So I liked what I saw from Dante Miller. And the final one is Daniel Bellinger. Remember, he was also an afterthought at times last year, kind of like Jalen Hyatt, especially with Theo Johnson, who had a quality spring as well. But I just thought Daniel Bellinger, that was the best I've seen Daniel Bellinger play since his breakout rookie year. Like, he was making plays, made a great catch at minicamp on Tuesday in the corner of the end zone. I mean, Daniel Bellinger looked the best he has. Now, again, how much does that change when you have to go block and you're getting, popped in the mouth by a 255, 260-pound outside linebacker or even a stunting defensive tackle, a 300-pounder, and then you have to go run routes after that? But I liked what I saw from Daniel Bellinger as a receiver. He's never going to be a spectacular receiver in regards to, he's not going to be a 1,000-yard guy. But Daniel Bellinger can give you something as a receiver. You should be able to get something out of him as a receiver too. Like him and Theo Johnson together, you hope for like 800-900 yards combined. Like 1,000 yards combined. I think that would be solid. I think you could almost, split that. Maybe the way they're going to use Theo Johnson, he'll have more receiving yards, but Daniel Bellinger should give you something. Should be able to get like 300 yards receiving out of Daniel Bellinger, 500-600. The hope, I think, if you're the Giants, is 500-600 for Theo Johnson. A good 800 total from those two. I think that's probably more realistic than what I said originally. Yeah, so those are the 8 right there that to me stood out. Russell Wilson, I should say also, I do think he threw the ball really well. He had a quality spring also. But we know Russell Wilson can throw. We know he's going to thrive in these 7-on-7 situations. Read the field. It is a new offense, so you give him credit for learning the new offense quick. But this is a veteran. This is a 10-time Pro Bowler. He's going to look good in these kind of scenarios. It's when there's a line and there's pressure when, I'm not sure, you're not sure what you're going to get from Russell Wilson at this point of his career because he doesn't quite have the same athleticism, mobility, and ability to escape that pressure. And that's when I think, Russell Wilson might struggle and has struggled really the last few years. So in this setting, in the spring setting, you had to like what you saw from Russell Wilson. On to the next one.
On Connor Hughes here, you know him, SNY. We're basically outside the Giants facility. I'm sitting on his lap. So we're gonna make do, as much as humanly possible here. Airplane flying over our head, all the conditions we could imagine. We're performing through the elements. So, I want your opinion. What stood out to you about the Giants this spring?
Yeah, so I think the big one. I actually just did this video on this for SNY, and I'm curious if you feel the same way. When we all talked about Jackson Dart coming out of Ole Miss, the one thing that everybody said, and I'm not talking about just the talking heads on television, but every coach you called, every scout you called, every analyst you called, the people you trust who evaluate these college kids for a reason, they all said he's green. They all said he's going to need a full year plus to develop. I kind of had an opinion of what he would look like coming in, and I think he exceeded those expectations markedly so. And I don't think by any stretch, I don't think he blew me away. This wasn't like I was like, oh my God.
In what ways?
That's what I'm saying. So I didn't think this was like, get this guy on the field now. Start this guy right now. The way that I viewed him was that if Jackson Dart had to play a game this season, based off of what I heard around and right after the draft, I was like, oh my God, he's going to be a disaster. He's going to be a detriment to himself, his teammates. I didn't come away thinking that. I came away feeling like he is a guy that if he has to play this year, the Giants can build a game plan around him where he will be somewhat successful, and at worst case, he won't be a disaster on the field, which is, again, a big compliment considering what we thought he was going to be in terms of greenness and readiness coming in.
Well, that's because probably, I mean, in my opinion, it's because of the physical skills, the physical ability. Like, there's enough there to work with where you can get by for the short term. But in the long term, he's probably better off getting groomed, sitting, waiting, spending time behind the Russell Wilsons, Jameis Winston's of the world.
Yeah, and again, you'll say the same thing here, Jordan. Like, there's no quarterback controversy. There is no Jackson.
Russ is QB1.
Yes, yeah. Jackson Dart's not pushing Russell Wilson. Jackson Dart's not going to win the quarterback job in training camp. Russell Wilson is a starter, but if he gets hurt, if he gets banged up, for me, it's not like, oh, go to Jameis because you can't play Jackson. I think you could play Jackson over Jameis. I do believe that.
All right, so that takes us to your aura, your famous aura comment, okay? Go search X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Connor made a comment, Jackson Dart just has this aura. By the way, this is like a passing camp. That's what Brian Dable described it, the work you do in the spring. Yeah. Do you regret saying he has the aura, and explain yourself of what you mean by it?
I will triple down on it because I have what I've coined.
So you're just going to ride that all the way. This is like your my Daniel Jones, the conductor hat.
Yes.
This is you're the Connor Hughes, Jackson Dart aura guy.
Yeah. So here was my thing: is like So this goes back to the Senior Bowl when Christian Watson was there, and everyone's evaluating guys on speed and quickness, and I'm like, screw that. The Connor scouting system is just going to be judged off of appearance. Like, how do you look on the field? And this takes into consideration like uniform swag, your number, which I know we disagree with. When I saw Jackson Dart out there and he's got the one leg sleeve, he's got the appropriate number of wristbands, he's got the arm sleeve that only comes down halfway, the visor with the hair coming out, then he takes the helmet off and there's the Giants appropriately placed bandana that's not covering the whole head, just like to keep the hair out of it. The guy has swag, if you want to call it that. I feel like we've moved past saying swag to aura.
Old school, like you're the kids nowadays. They don't say swag anymore. We're into aura.
We're on to aura.
Connor, by the way, is young still, relatively.
Even like the handshakes he has with people, like the handshakes, the way everyone's coming up. There's just something about him where like he's the one that is not only inviting everyone to his birthday party and everyone's coming, he's the guy that's going to be invited to everyone's party and still go to everyone's party. Like, I just feel like he's a guy that everyone wants to be around, which goes to that aura. Like, he's got something about him that people gravitate towards. I have no idea if he's going to be able to play quarterback, but there's something about him that, like, people like him. People are going to like him.
Okay, so there's the aura. Yeah. Anything else stand out to you this spring for the New York Giants?
Yeah, Abdul Carter. I mean, I think that, again,
we're kind of harping on the first-round picks here. Way to go out on a limb, Connor.
Yeah, well, I mean, the other picks aren't practicing, so there's not much to work with there. But I think that
fair point.
The thing about Carter is that, again, I know what people say. Like, it's padless practices, the defense is at advantage. True. Like, it's all of those things are accurate. We're not really going to know until the pads come on. You can still tell when a guy is different.
You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, you can look at a guy and the way that he moves and the way that he gets around and be like, he is different than everybody else. He's unique from everybody else. And off of camp, minicamp, he is different than everyone else. I mean, this was against the second team, which, again, should get an asterisk because you're the one who told me this. Like, second-team pass rushers, which Abdul Carter isn't, but second-team pass rushers should beat second-team offensive linemen because you're –
By the way, the Giants' left tackle is out, so their second-team left tackle is already playing with the first team. So now you're really onto your third-team left tackle, so that's who Abdul Carter's facing a lot of times.
Exactly. So, yeah, he should – because, again, you don't want that third-string tackle in the game, but your second-string pass rusher is going to be a rotational player. With that said, there were 4 plays run by the second-team offense, and Abdul Carter single-handedly destroyed 3 of those plays. Like, that's things where you make a little asterisk where you're like, yeah, it's going to be harder when pads come on, but it's not like Carter's going to go from this absolute monster to like, oh, he's just a jag. Like, that's not going to happen. So he stood out to me. I thought Theo Johnson had a really good summer as well, or off-season program. I know people get on me for saying summer, but, like, he got a good off-season program. Theo Johnson stood out. Darius Slayton, I thought. Yeah,
Darius Slayton did it. I thought a really good catch.
And Hyatt before he got hurt. I thought stood out.
So we will end on this, right? You have to explain yourself. Okay. I need you to explain yourself. We had OTAs. We had minicamp. We have training camp this summer. Yeah. Big play-by-play guy. Social media play-by-play guy. Some might say you're in it for the clout. Too much. Explain yourself. Give me the mindset of somebody who's doing play-by-play of OTAs, minicamp, and then training camp?
So I try not to give the hot takes off of these practices. Like I try not to do
Sure?
that where it's like,
You sure?
yeah, well, aura's different. That's a fact. The aura thing's a fact, but it won't
fact.
be
Fact. Okay.
like Jackson
The
Dart.
Connor swag meter.
Yeah. That's completely different. That's 100% in play. But it's not like, oh my God, Jackson Dart needs to start, or oh my God, cut this guy, he stinks. Like nothing like that off camp. Because again, is Darius Slayton looking really good, or does Deonte Banks look bad? Like you kind of have to judge off of that. It's offense versus defense, and they're on the same team. But when it comes to tweeting out the highlights and the play-by-plays, when people stop caring about them, I'll stop doing it. But people love it and they're thirsty for it. And I think the one thing I'll say is this is one of the
Thirsty.
Yeah, this is one of the very few times on the NFL calendar where we are able to see something that fans can't. They have to wait for the team to tweet out the highlights, because back in the day, I mean, you could tweet everything from training camp. You can't do that anymore, video-wise. They rely on us, or I shouldn't say rely on us, but this is the only time where we have something that fans care about that they can't get anywhere but us. So I take advantage of it.
All right, so let me present the flip side then to you. A lot of these things can be taken, you're tweeting 15 plays, let's say, through practice. One can hit and become big. It's being taken just on its own, and now you're saying, Deonte Banks was beat badly on this one rep by Malik Neighbors, and now it instantly turns into Deonte Banks is terrible. He's getting beat all the time by Malik Neighbors. So there's the danger of that, of people just pulling it out and not putting it in the series. They're only seeing the one that's making its round.
Yeah, that's true, and that happens a lot with the Jets. Less with Giants, because Jets, they usually have the players that are super polarizing. I feel like Giant fans are very optimistic, and they just kind of want to believe that every player is going to be really, really good. And
wow, really? You believe that?
I do. Comparing it to the Jets. Comparing it to the Jets, where the Jets are almost Jet fans, I feel like are more yeah, you're going to have to prove to me that I'm wrong on my opinion, like a Jet fan. And so, they'll take, if they have a negative opinion on a player and that player lets up a touchdown, they will just blow it. It was with Zach Wilson all the time, and some receivers all the time, and Mekhi or Denzel, or things like that they've had. Giant fans a little different with that, but that's just something I don't feel like you can control. I mean, I try to do my best where I won't only tweet the bad plays. I tweet the good plays, I tweet the bad plays, and I try to remove the opinion from it. I'll still provide commentary to explain what happened, but not my opinion of oh my God, Deonte Banks stinks, or oh, Paulson Adebo's been getting beat avoid all that stuff, because that's going to cause a narrative that's going to hurt your relationship with people and all. But which you told me that. But I will say that it's more, I think as long as people want it, I'm going to keep doing it.
You don't always listen to me, though.
No, not always. I try, though. I try.
Connor Hughes, SNY. Appreciate you as always.
No problem, buddy.
All right, we're going to wrap this up a little quick. Jordan on the beat. This is where I tell you what it's like to cover the Giants, work for ESPN, or cover the NFL in general. And we're now in the dead time of the NFL season. Really, the whole league kind of takes off these next few weeks. This is your summer vacation. Shorter than most summer vacations because you're back to work, like I said, in the middle of July, or towards the end of July, I should say. And, your summer ends real quick. But this is the time I get some downtime. I'm still going to try to produce the podcast once a week, but, play a bunch of golf, go to the beach, hang out, just decompress a little bit. So that's what's on the docket for me. Hey, anyone, have any good golf outings? I love golf outings. You want to invite me, great courses. I'm not a great golfer, but I like going out there. It's a good day. So just throwing that out there for you. But I want to tell a little quick story now. Some of you might have already heard this story, but I was actually telling Connor a few minutes ago, because if you notice, if you go back to that video, scroll back or rewind a little bit, you notice I'm sitting to his right. So this way, I could talk to him with the microphone in my left hand and keep the microphone in my left hand. I never use my right hand for the microphone. And there's a story behind it. Because the first time I went on camera at ESPN, but basically the first time, 2016, Odell Beckham, some minor injury. I believe, I think he stepped on Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie's foot or something. And I had to go on, and I was my own producer, set it up with the tripod and everything. And I go on, it was ESPN News. And I'm using my right hand. Now, I have this right ring finger that I once ruptured the tendon and had to get it fixed. It's demented, messed up, flag football, got caught in someone's pocket, whatever. It's a mess. I'm standing there, and so it's really tight. The tendons are tight. And as I'm standing there talking, my right hand here, my middle finger starts going up and up and up. And naturally, I just close it, not even knowing. I'm not even paying attention. And again, as I'm holding the microphone slowly, like a rubber band, little by little, the right middle finger, is inching up, inching up, inching up. So I will never. And then I get back and I see, some random people are like, ESPN, who's this new guy? He has no idea what he's doing. He's giving the middle finger to the camera and like screenshot it. And I was like, Jesus, I hope no one saw that. It's a Saturday in the middle of the summer. Thankfully, I'm still employed. But, I was like, at that point, I'm like, never again holding the microphone in my right hand. So always in the left hand. So when I'm doing something with a partner or next to them, I always try to maneuver myself and situate myself where I could hold the microphone in my left hand and then just naturally slide it over with the left hand. I don't have to use the right hand on a microphone because it could be a dangerous situation. I don't intentionally want to give the middle finger to the whole audience. So we're going to try to avoid that as much as possible. And ever since then, I can't ever remember holding the microphone again. We're now at 9 years later, only hold the microphone every single time with my left hand. Because I don't want a middle finger in the world. I really don't. Yeah. So at least on TV. I mean, the internet, different story, but you get the point. So that's it for this episode of Breaking Blue, Big Blue. That's it for the spring. Stay tuned for summer content. I'm going to try to find unique and interesting angles, topics to touch upon, and guests as well. So remember, like, subscribe, tell your friends you're listening to Big Blue. I'm always welcome for feedback you have here on YouTube, X, Instagram, TikTok, email. You know where to find me. Listen to Breaking Big Blue. I'm Jordan Ranan. See you next time.